Lord, you have searched me and know me. You know when I sit down and when I get up. You understand my thoughts from far away. That's the beginning of Psalm 139. And it just makes me think about God's eyes. There's been quite a few times when I've had such resentment or bitterness in my heart towards somebody that's wronged me or disrespected me. And I think, how did God do it? How could he be on the cross being murdered and he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But when you realize that God sees the inner thoughts, he knows the intentions of man, he sees all the pain, he sees the wounds, he sees what people have been through. So he's still able to have compassion, empathy. It amazes me how we can wear our scars, like physical injuries, as, show them off. Like, it's like a badge of honor. Like, oh, I healed from this. I got stabbed here. I got shot here. I had this, broke this bone here. But we don't really do that with emotional pain. And that's often because a lot of the emotional wounds that we have never heal because they get hidden. You can't hide physical scars. But God built us in a way that they heal themselves if we let them. And emotional wounds, they can linger. And then when they're not fully resolved, they can lead to bitterness, resentment. But God sees all of that. Other human beings can't. So they can't always empathize in the way that God would have us do. They can't always have compassion in the way that God would. That's why we're to look to Jesus, because he does. He sees all of the mess, all of the pain, all of the hurt that's been bottled up, that manifests itself in anger and hatred towards other people at times, because some wounds have never healed. And yeah, there's always going to be outliers, people who don't have an emotional membrane, who do have a lack of empathy. There is terms for those people. But on the whole, the reason Jesus could say, forgive them, for they know not what they do, he is God that took human form. He could see behind the mask that every person wears. He could see the pain. He could see the trauma. He could see the reasons why there is a disbelief in that person's heart. So he has empathy. He can sympathize. His Father, forgive them, because they know not what they do. He truly knew that they did not know what they were doing. And it's like when we look at people in that way that hurt us or wound us, because they don't know any better, because they've been deceived by the God of this world. So it's nice to know that God sees us. He searches us. He knows our inner workings. He knew us before the womb. He laid out his plans for us. At the end of Psalm 139, it says, search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my concerns. See if there is any offensive way in me. Lead me in the everlasting way. He can only lead you. He can only lead me if we're keeping our eyes on Christ. And then we can be the reflection of him on the cross and forgive others who really don't deserve it. I know I haven't deserved it before. And thank God for his mercy and grace. And it's because he sees behind the pain that we hide. And so if you try to have God's perspective on things, have his eyes when you're dealing with people who just seem unreasonable, maybe that's a little insight. Psalm 139 will definitely bring you probably a little bit of comfort if you are dealing with something, because it gets into the wickedness in the world and justice for the wicked and protect me, and no weapon formed against you can prosper when you were taking coverage under the Lord. And you'll have tribulation, but take rest, because Jesus has overcome the world. He sees through our pain. Seek peace in him. I pray this finds you well. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.